We'll call the order the Board of Commissioners meeting for Douglas County, Nebraska for Tuesday, August 5th, 2025. Please note that a copy of the Open Meetings Act is located on the north wall of the Legislative Chamber alongside an automatic external defibrillator. Please stand for the pledge. We'll go into the Douglas County Board of Equalization. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Morgeson, Commissioner Kavanaugh, Commissioner Fahey, Commissioner Friend, Commissioner Morgan, Commissioner Rogers, Mr. Chair.
Here. First item of business are items A and B. A being the approval of the minutes of the Board of Equalization meeting held Tuesday, July 29th, 2025, and B being a call for a meeting and set Tuesday, August 19th, 2025, as date for hearing on certified assessment corrections reflecting the addition of omitted property to the tax rolls or increased value on property. Do I have a motion and a second? Motion by Rogers, second by Morgan. Please vote.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. Next, we have our resolutions under equalization. I am predicting that items F and G might have more commentary to them, so I may entertain a motion for the board to approve items C through I minus F and G to start with. Motion by Rogers, second by Morgan to approve all resolutions minus F and G. We're going to do those separately. Did anybody come to speak on any of those other items? If not, we'll vote on those. Oh, no. Everything but F and G. Yep.
Motion passes 7-0.
All right. That will take us first to F. F is the approving recommendations of value for real properties that have a report of damaged real property related to Form 425. Mr. Clerk, do you want to give us just a quick reminder of what these are?
Yes, Dan Esch, Douglas County Clerk. So this is when in any year after January 1 and before July 1, if a property sustains significant enough damage, usually to a weather-related event, but it doesn't have to be weather, they can file a report of damaged real property, and the county assessor's office will review the report and make a recommendation. This year we had 21 properties file reports of damaged real property, and 17 of them are being recommended for a change, and 4 of them are according to the assessor's opinion, did not sustain enough damage to qualify for a reduction. So that's what this item is.
Got it. Thank you. And before going to Commissioner Kavanaugh, was there anybody from the public that wanted to speak on F? Okay. Commissioner Kavanaugh?
Thank you. I was just trying to follow up on what the clerk had to say. If I heard this correctly, there were 41 properties in this category. Is that correct?
21.
I'm sorry?
21.
21. And of those 21, a percentage were dismissed and a percentage were changed. What was that, if you know?
Well, I could probably, it was 17 of the 21 received a change, so I guess a little over 75%.
Were changed?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Anybody else on F? If not, we'll vote. I think I still need a motion and a second for F to approve the recommendations. The motion was by Rogers and second by Morgan for F. We'll vote on that.
Motion passes 7-0.
Very good, thank you. Now we'll go to item G, and if you'd like to kick us off, I know you got a few.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, good morning. David Levy, Baird Home Law Firm, 1700 Farnham Street. With me is my colleague, Carrie Schwab. We have two items under item G that we would like to address the board on and request that the board change the recommendation on. One I will talk about, and then I will turn the other over to Carrie. The one she's talking about has actually 3 parcels. The first one, the taxpayer is the tenant. It's called The Bay. And I'll just read from their own materials. Since 2010, The Bay, a 501c3, has been a lifeline and launchpad for youth, a safe space to belong, create, and chart their future. Open late on nights and weekends, The Bay breaks down barriers by offering free or pay-what-you-can programming in music, art, media, fashion, and skateboarding focused on youth who are often overlooked. It is a place to build community, find mentorship, and gain real-world skills. The Bay occupies a building at 6120 Military Avenue in the Benson neighborhood. As I said, the Bay is a nonprofit. I just talked about their mission. The proposed valuation on that building was $1.3 million approximately, $1,309,100. The referee recommended a reduction to $1,047,300. We had protested seeking a valuation of $458,823. Our request is based on the below market rent that the Bay pays. They pay $1 a square foot for 39,000 square feet. If you take that and you do an income calculation using an 8 cap rate, you get to our proposed valuation of $458,823. The referee actually used a higher cap rate, a more favorable cap rate, to lower the valuation of 10, and that resulted, I believe, in the recommendation to go from 1.3 million, 1,309,100 to 1,047,300. But that considers a market rate rent. Again, the Bay is renting this space under a long-term lease for $1 a square foot, so $39,000 is the rent. You take that and simply do a net income calculation using an 8 cap rate, which is a very, I think, fair cap rate for that type of space. Again, less favorable to us than the referee even used, and you get to that $458,000. The last thing I'll say is the practical reality of this is the referee's recommended valuation results in about $22,000, $23,000 a year in property taxes to this nonprofit that is trying to serve overlooked youth in our community. Our requested valuation would cut that property tax bill approximately in half, or a little less than half, to about $11,000. So this would leave $11,000, $12,000 to programming, not to property taxes. I realize that's not how the law requires you to look at it, but I think it's important to look at the practical reality of this as well. But again, simple net income calculation, very reasonable 8 cap rate leads to our valuation based on the actual rent, which is below market, and that's our request, is that the board would grant our protest and set the value at that number of $458,000. $458,823 was our protest. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioners, this can be found second down on page 53. It's HULAC Inc. Page 53, the second one down.
Thank you. The protest number is 061281.
53. Page 53. Okay, thank you, Mr. Levy. We'll take each property one at a time, so let's focus on this one first. And Commissioner Morgan?
Okay. You said long-term lease. How long?
Let me see, I've got it right here. I think it is, I guess, I will just look. So it's a 10-year lease with 2 5-year options.
Okay. At the $1 a square foot.
Correct.
And for the, board, I wasn't aware of this, Mr. Levy, but the fact is, that's more than a fair price, I mean, to the nonprofit.
I agree.
And cap rates right now might be around 6, which is even lower this rate. I mean, as far as the value of the property, because if you're buying it, you'd have a hard time, you know,
At a higher.
yes.
Yep.
So you're really accurate in what you've said, and I never had a conversation with you about this or have anything been to that property on 61st and Military. This is really, in my opinion, most fair what you've asked for, because I got to tell you, there'd be a lot of people wanting to buy a property if it had an 8 cap on it in today's world.
Yeah.
They're happy to buy them at about a 6 cap, which, you know, would even lower the value further than what you requested. Therefore, and I'll be happy to answer any questions my colleagues, other commissioners have of me on this, because I happen to, you know, do cap rates very, very often nationally. I'm going to make a motion that we accept your recommendation and move forward with that reduction.
Thank you.
His request, go ahead. It's 400.
Our requested valuation,
Yeah.
458,823.
And if you were trying to sell this property, I don't care if it's worth $1 million, you're stuck with a 10-year lease and 2 5-year options. You're not going to buy it for a bigger number because you can take your money to the bank and get a greater return. So it's really a fair situation.
There's a motion on the floor to take this property's assessment down to $458,823. Is there a second for further discussion on that motion? If you want to discuss it, then I suggest you second it first. All right, second.
Thank you.
And so we'll discuss the motion and the recommendation to take it down to 458,000, starting with Commissioner Kavanaugh.
So, Mr. Levy, this property is listed as owned by Hulac Inc.? Is that
That's correct.
And you're representing who?
We represent the Bay, which is the nonprofit that occupies the building. And per their lease, they're responsible for the property taxes.
Okay. So they're the sole occupant?
I believe so, yes.
And how long have they been there?
Not that long. The lease commenced. Lawyers, the way they write these things. I'm not finding the effective date offhand, but they've been there, I'll call it a year, something like that.
And from that time when they occupied it till now, what's been the value, the assessed value?
I don't know what the assessed value in 2024 was. I don't know if it says that on the report.
I can look this
Do we
up
have
here.
that?
Not the 2024, but I will in a second here.
I'm sorry, I'm having difficulty hearing.
I don't have it yet. I'm looking it up right now for you.
It's your position that this increase would involve a significant increase in the rent that your client would pay?
No, our position is simply that for a commercial space, the valuation for property tax purposes should be calculated on actual value, which in this case is the net income, which is a below market rate rent under a lease that is at least 10 years long and could be 20 years long. So the actual value of this building is much less than what the assessor had proposed or even the referee had proposed because of the below market rate rent that the landlord is able to get from or willing to get from our client, the nonprofit who's operating there.
Okay, so what's the annual rent that your client pays?
$39,000.
$39,000.
Correct.
And I think you indicated that that is tied to a lease that has some type of an escalator clause if the valuation goes up, the taxes go up, is that correct?
Our client is responsible to pay the property taxes. So if you were to deny our protest, the financial burden of those higher property taxes would fall to our client, the nonprofit.
And I think you stated the dollar amount that would be. What was that?
The delta is approximately $11,000, $12,000.
And your client, a not-for-profit, has an annual budget of what, if you know?
I don't know.
Does your associate know?
I do not know.
Okay.
They're a fairly small organization. They've been operating in Lincoln since 2010. They're fairly new to Omaha. This is I believe, their first base in Omaha.
Okay. Well, I think my position would mirror my colleague, Mr. Morgan's, in terms of the arguments that he made. And so if we're talking about a reduction here, is that a reduction to the current amount of 458,823? Is that the current amount?
That's our requested valuation based on the actual rent and the cap rate.
Okay, and Mr. Goodwillie, maybe you
Mr.
can help
Goodwillie.
us with the current amount?
Well, let me provide a little backdrop. Mike Goodwillie, Douglas County
do you
Assessor,
know the
Register
current
of Deeds. I know that the 24 value was 1.3 million. There was a protest. The board did not make any change in that year. In 24, there was a listing of the property for $18 a square foot rather than $1 a square foot.
If you could speak up, please.
I'm sorry, sure. In 24, there was a listing of the property for $18 a square foot. And what I would simply suggest to you is there's a couple of issues in play legally that Mr. Levy has touched on already. One is that we're obliged to value property at its market value, okay? What would it be in the marketplace as opposed to some sort of deep discount on the rent, which is mostly a management decision, okay? And second, there's a uniformity and proportionality issue in terms of other similar sorts of office space. So with that, I don't know, you might want to ask the referee supervisor what they recommended and why. But just as backdrop, since you were struggling with what the value was last year and what the history of this parcel was, I thought I'd share that with you.
Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes Commissioner Kavanaugh's first round. We'll go to Commissioner Borgeson.
Well, two things. I think before anything, we should hear from the referee, since that's who we have given our work to do this before anything is done. But I just want you to know ahead of time, and anybody else who's sitting here, I have historically voted no on anybody that comes forward. We advocated our authority of Board of Equalization to the referees for this very reason, because there's no way we as a board can sit in judgment of almost 5,000 parcels based on the law that we have to sit as a full board. Just timing doesn't cut it.
Yeah.
I think it's totally unfair that there are certain individuals that get to come before the board and plead their case to us when there's, 4,000 other ones out there that don't. And it's never published or said that they should come to the board. A few select get to come to the board because they're told, but this is wrong. It's not your fault, but I'm just explaining to you why I'm going to vote no, because the proper process for this is we've given it to the referees look at it, the referees give us the recommendations. If you as the property owner or taxpayer representative don't like it, then the next available process for you is to go to Turk. And that's how it should work. If we as a board, again, we've discussed this every single year for I don't know how many years, if we want to start hearing individual protests, then we should hear them all, not just select ones. And so I just want you to understand, David, why I'm voting no on these is because I think it's wrong of us to give a select few people the opportunity to come before this board. We're making motions and seconds before we even hear from our referees who we given our authority to do these things for us. They're the experts, so I'm just voting no, and I wanted you to understand that. It's nothing against your argument. You may have a very valid argument, but again, we're going outside our lines of process, and I think it's wrong. So.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Thank you. Before I go to a next round, I would like a point of information from the referee or referee supervisor to provide context on the case.
Did you close out of the windows I had up earlier? I had some windows up earlier and I'm not seeing them.
Can you hover?
Oh, here we go. There's the referee, and then scroll down and get to you. There's the referee comments.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Chris Musto, 1011 South 78th Street, Commercial Coordinator. I do recall some information regarding this property. I'd have to pull up more on the assessor packet to look at it. And I understand that the lease is written as a $1 per square foot, with, as they say, remaining 9 years on the lease. However, by virtue of what the state has issued, is the valuation is on the actual value. And to value this on a $1, which is by admission, by the representation, is below market rent, you would be having a leased fee value, which would not be reflective of market value. And I believe that's why the referee said, all right, this building had been vacant, had taken some time to get leased, and the value is probably based upon the rent that the assessor had previously, maybe slightly down from that. I'm trying to look at the building. Is a building about 40,000 square feet?
Correct.
Yeah. Building about 40,000 square feet in the Benson area, and their valuation, although I'm not having an opinion, I understand they're a nonprofit and wanting to protect the monies that they collect and how they spend them, but you're putting this building at a value of about $10 per square foot, which, not that I want to go too deep into this, but if the building is valued at $10 per square foot, we'll probably have every neighbor around it come in and on equalization say, hey, I should be valued at $10 a square foot too. And I think our job has always been asked to reflect what we thought was market value as of January 1 of the year, and we've taken that information. I understand there can be below market leases, and they are brought to our attention more than just in this case, and we will take it to what we believe should be market, which I believe is what the assessor has done as well. So I don't know what else. I would certainly answer any questions that you may have.
All right, thank you for that. There may be some questions for you, but we'll first go to Commissioner Kavanaugh.
You have some. Thank you for this.
Certainly.
So if I understand your position, it's that the proponents of this reduction are arguing for essentially a $10 a square foot valuation based on what they think would be a fair level of assessment. And you're saying based on the surrounding area of $18 a square foot, is that correct?
No, that was what it was originally listed as, but I believe, I don't have the listing here in front of me, but I believe that's probably what somebody was marketing it to take the space and maybe renovate it and get the $18 with the money spent. If I'm not mistaken, this tenant may have taken the space as it is or spent money themselves to improve it. But I do have some familiarity with the market and area, and there are not many buildings selling for $10 a square foot, which is what the related value would be, $10, $11, $12 a square foot.
Right. So, based on that, then, what is the market average in that area?
Well, every building is going to be unique to itself. This being a rather large building of industrial nature, the valuation that would be on it now, I guess before was probably close to $30 a square foot. It doesn't seem unreasonable, but even at this rate, it's $20, $25 a square foot at the $1 million valuation. I'd have to pull some data together to actually look at it, and the assessor packet in there has got some of the sales that they utilized in looking at their valuation.
Okay. So, it's kind of like reverse engineering. They're at 400,000 and change, and they're at $1 million plus. I'm just trying to determine, how do you get from where they are to where you are? If it's $10 a square foot at where they are, how do you get to what is it per square foot where you're at?
Well, I was never at 400,000. We were looking at what the assessor had. I would, again, we've got I mean, there was probably some additional notes here, but if you're at 30,000 square feet, and he was referencing the assessor using, or the referee using a 10 cap. The assessor on a 10 cap was probably applying a rent of about $5 a square foot is my guess. Sounds about right. So something less than certainly something less than the 18, but the assessor wasn't applying 18 either. That was just a marketing brochure, again, saying, hey, we'll rent this to you for $18 a square foot, but we're going to do some TIs, tenant improvements, and probably finish and bring it up to it. You're in an old area, so things can be at the very low end of the spectrum, and when you've got some of that space they've spent a lot of money, done a lot of finishing, they bring it up, it creates value.
No, I appreciate that. I'm still a little confused of how you get to the high number. I mean, I understand what they're talking about in terms of the formula they use to get to their number. I don't know the formulas being utilized here, but thank you.
All right, I'll take a quick round. My initial questions for Mr. Goodwillie, or anybody else who might be able to answer. And the question is, does state statute, state law provide discrepancy or in reasoning to lower an assessment for utilization of what's going on in the building, like, for example, a nonprofit being in the building? Does it take that into consideration?
What you're really asking is, should the identity of the tenant make a difference in how you value the property? And I would suggest to you that there are a number of Supreme Court cases that have said over the years that the identity of the owner, at least, should not make the slightest bit of difference in terms of how you value a property. And I could only think that that probably applies to tenants too. So I don't get to value you differently than I do Commissioner Morgan if you're neighbors, just because your circumstances may be more personally dire than his.
Mm-hmm. Yep, because we are in a situation, if I'm understanding, where the assessment that your office gave initially was the 1.3 million.
Which was what it was last year and was left unchanged by the board last year.
Okay, unchanged from last year. The referee, in the referee's rationale and insight into the case, lowered it to by about 250,000, more or less.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yep. So there was a lowering there by the referee. The number Mr. Levy's giving is based on the contract with the nonprofit for what the nonprofit is paying for the space, right? Which kind of gets to my utilization question a little bit and identity of the tenant a little bit. But so if the state law doesn't really look at identity of owner or tenant, I lean a little bit more towards the referees lowering and number. I mean, I'm a big fan of the Bay, to be honest, but I think in this case, the landowner is the one that chose to give a contract at a specific rate, a less than market rate contract for the space. So that was the owner's decision, right? Not the assessor's decision, not our decision. And if they're making that decision, it's because they can afford it, I'm guessing. I don't know. And then with the nonprofit, being a nonprofit manager myself, taking on the responsibility of the taxes is a little bit of a not common in a contract, I don't think. All the leases I've had for my nonprofits have never taken on the responsibility of taxes. So that is definitely a little bit of a risky provision in that contract. Taxes can go up and down, we know that, right? So, I don't know, it's kind of an interesting case, but a little bit leaning towards the referee at the moment. But Mr. Levy, I have about 40 seconds if you want to take the rest of my time.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate it. I'll be brief and be mindful of what Commissioner Morgeson said. It is not the identity of the tenant, one nonprofit versus another. What we are arguing for is that the actual value of the property based on this long-term lease is what the board should consider. That reflects the actual value of the property. Nebraska Revised Statutes 77201 says that Sub 1 says that except as provided in subsections 2 through 4, which are about ag land and exemptions, all real property in this state not expressly exempt therefrom shall be subject to taxation and shall be valued at its actual value. That's what we're asking for. The actual value of this property is represented by that long-term lease. I won't belabor it further. That's our argument. If you use that with, as Commissioner Morgan said, as a very reasonable cap rate, maybe one that is disfavorable to us a little bit, you get the value that we're asking for.
Thank you, Mr. Levy.
Thank you.
Quick point of information to clarify anything there.
Yeah, if I may
Mr.
drop
Whitley?
the other shoe, Mr. Levy is absolutely correct about 77201. Actual value is defined in 77112 as the most probable price expressed in terms of money between a willing buyer and a willing seller in the marketplace. And so actual value translates into market value. So when you hear the referee say, well, here's what the market value is for office space in the Benson neighborhood, that's kind of the obligation of how we value. So,
Thank you, Mr. Goodwillie. I'm going to go to Commissioner Morgan for a second round.
Okay. Mr.
Oh,
Go ahead.
Okay, sorry, I was getting some mixed signals.
is it a point of clarification on statutes? Otherwise,
no, I'm just.
it's not. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I was, okay.
We might let you chime in a second here, but first let me get the Commissioner Morgan.
We're all very anxious.
Okay. As far as the Board of Equalization, the final responsibility by statute is with us. We are the Board of Equalization, and whoever wants to come can come down. And I never spoke with you before or invited you down or anything else. I mean, people come down and you can tell people that they can come to the Board of Equalization. And, you know, I think there's facts about this, and I think Mr. Goodwillie, I want you to be sure you give me constructive criticism about this, but I have been a nationally licensed appraiser for many years until I became the mayor, and I gave it up, and the state one I also had and gave it up. The fact is, market value is an interesting thing, and the example I'll give very clearly is at 108 10 Farnham's an office building that you could not build for $400 a foot. Guy bought it for $12 million in '06. I wasn't involved. I know who was. Colliers was involved. It sold recently for $4 million, very simply because it's had 80,000 feet vacant for the last probably 10 years, 8 years. And it's an excellent building in a great location with plenty of parking and everything. I'm going to tell you that many properties, with all respect, Commissioner Garcia, are listed, and your rent is triple net on commercial space most of the time, and the same with office buildings. So, for example, we'll rent an office for $10 a foot just south or north of 78th and Dodge, and it's triple net. You pay for snow removal 10% if you occupy 10% of the space. And you pay the utilities 10% if you're in 10% of the space, or 40%, or whatever you happen to be in. So this is not unusual. And for somebody on a market, if you've got a long-term lease and it's below market or above market, that's going to affect the value of the property of what you can sell it for. And no one's going to buy this property for $1 million and have a $40,000 return is all. Or it just wouldn't make sense. You're better off put your money at the bank and get 5% or 4.7 or whatever it is today. The one thing I do think is a factor, this is an arm's length lease, isn't it? I mean, he doesn't own the nonprofit too. So the nonprofit is who pays the taxes, they pay the utilities, they pay whatever else. If there's lawn care or whatever, they're doing all that, if that's accurate.
Correct.
So this isn't unusual, and I think Mr. Goodwillie would agree with me that on all those strip centers at 100 and whatever in Dodge or whatever street center, they're paying a triple net kind of situation. So what that means, if somebody here thinks, hey, I'd buy this building for $1 million because I have a $40,000 a year return, they probably rented it to them and said, take it as is because I'm not doing your improvements. And that's what's holding off a lot of people from moving into space today, because it costs over $100 and some to build out that space when a new tenant comes in. So that's the reason for this, and market value is what you can sell it for based upon the leases that are in the building. There's buildings in Regency that you couldn't build for $500 if somebody gave you the land. They're assessed at $70 a foot right now because they're vacant, and some of them have been vacant floors 6 years
That's time.
in Regency, which is a great location. And that's a fact, and that affects the value of the building big time. So thank you for the
Thank you.
time.
Thank you. We'll go to a first round for Commissioner Rogers.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to, my heart would love to support it, but I can't come to terms with it. One, I mean, you're noting the statute, and everybody's talking about, the selling market rate, but I can't square the fact that, I don't know if there's a distinction in there between the lease and the sale. It's a lease. And you just said they leased it to you for $1, which was way below. So that was a choice. I don't know if that's the real value of it, but the story I keep playing in my head is, okay, everybody then starts leasing their property for a value of $1 and then starts coming in here and saying they justify that it should come down because of the lease. I'm not hearing you saying that that's the least good value of the property. I'm hearing you say that's what they did with you to give you a good deal. And like the chair, Commissioner Garcia said, I've never heard of that deal being negotiated like that, where the nonprofit pays that rent. They negotiated with you to pay the rent. They didn't negotiate at the building price, and the fair market value would change. And so I think whoever negotiated that did it bad. And, you know, I'm really uncomfortable with the precedent that that's going to set. And I don't know if we got all that authority. I mean, we do it on BOE on some things, but this has, to me, a bigger ramification and effect. And just like was said, if we do this, then I feel like personally I have no standing to come in when somebody comes in here around that area and then start saying, well, I want my property negotiated down because you just did that. I mean, basically, I've lost all high ground on that personally, and I do believe in trying to be fair with it. But the main point that's being made is the law says, you're saying the law says that, you know, whatever you stated with the law, what I keep playing in my head is the build is not sold, it's leased. They leased it to you at a way low value. And so, to me, that's setting up a scenario that I'm not comfortable with. So I'm gonna be a no on it.
Thank you. We'll go to a third 2-minute round for Commissioner Kavanaugh.
Thank you. I seem to recall, Mr. Goodwillie, maybe you can help with this a little bit. A case a few years ago involving the Woodman Tower across the street. And I think it went all the way to the Supreme Court. We were a party to that case. And basically, I think the ruling was something like, well, the Woodman Benevolent Association is a charitable organization.
No, it didn't. Commissioner, it didn't get that far.
Oh.
It was on track for hearing at Turk. What had happened.
I don't know, but procedural, but what was the ultimate ruling on
The
it?
ultimate ruling was Woodman bought an exemption from the legislature fair and square, and that killed the case.
Okay, but they were exempted because of...
Because the legislature changed the law to provide that fraternal benefit societies could qualify for an exemption.
Okay.
So essentially, the legislature gave a multi-million-dollar insurance company a property tax exemption.
Right. Where, in fact, this one is not some concocted benefit society. This is an actual legitimate 501c3.
Yeah, I'm not arguing about that at all.
Okay, well, I'm just trying to say, if we're treating these folks across the street as a tax-exempt entity, you know, from an
Well, but we
equitable point-
didn't treat them that way. We denied Woodman every step of the way.
No, but about half of that is exempt, correct?
It took the legislature to do it.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, we're going to circle back to the motion made by Commissioner Morgan to reduce the assessment to $258,823. If no further comments on that, we'll go ahead and vote on the motion that Commissioner Morgan made.
And I put it at $458,820 just because I know the assessor's office doesn't do, you know, it's always ends in a zero. So
That works.
all right.
Do I give a third?
If you want one, sure.
Never used one before. Market value, if you look up the definition of market value, is what you can sell a property for in today's market. That's what market value means. And the market value is affected by this lease. And like I'm saying about office buildings, there's office buildings you can lease in this city for $4 a foot, triple net, that have been vacant 6 years or thereabouts, because you'll take them as is and the owner doesn't have to spend $150 so you can move into the building per foot, because that starts to become, for 10,000 feet, over $1 million you're going to spend. So that's why I'm giving you the cheap rent if you'll take my building as is. And that's probably what happened on this situation. The guy didn't want to spend money per square foot and leased it, especially to a charitable organization, for a much fairer price. But market value, if you've got a lease, that's going to affect what you can sell it for totally. And I think Mr. Goodwillie would share my view that if a building is vacant, that has an effect on the price, and that's why you have buildings in Regency, office buildings valued at $70 a foot. And at 10810 Farnham, probably at closer to 40-some dollars a foot. Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Nothing else, we'll vote on Commissioner Morgan's motion.
Motion fails. Commissioners Fahey, Kavanaugh, Morgan voting yes, but all their commissioners voting no.
Okay, we're going to circle back to item G in general. And I know you had a second property to talk about, Mr. Levy. But before I go to that second property, I should have done this from the beginning, so my apologies. If I can get a motion and a second for item G in general, then we discuss it. And if any properties need to be changed, lowered, or anything, we can still do that. But yep. Motion by Rogers for G, second by Morgan. Okay, now we're in the full discussion of G. And second property y'all want to talk about?
Good morning. Just for clarification, my name is Carrie Schwab. I'm with Baird Home. Yes, I'll stand closer to the mic. My name is Carrie Schwab. I'm with Baird Home here on behalf of the owner of 3 parcels located in Hanover Falls. It's a subdivision in Bennington. I can repeat the parcel numbers if that's helpful.
That'd
Okay.
be great.
All right, so we have the first parcel is 1-2-3-3-6-9-3-3.
All
1-2-3-3-6-9-3-3-2-4. And the other 2 parcels are going to have the first 2, 4, 6, 8 digits for ease.
is it 226 and 28?
Yes.
Okay, so commissioners, this is very last one on page 48, very top 2 on page 49. The owner on all 3 of them is Hanover Falls Center Association.
So, commissioners, these parcels are all outlots located in this subdivision. They're on the southeast corner of the subdivision. They are actually undevelopable. They are pursuant to a development agreement with the city of Omaha. The developer cannot develop these lots. The 2024 assessment of these parcels reflected that in the nominal assessment value of 400. I think one was 100 and another was 800. Unfortunately, this year the county assessor mistakenly assessed these 3 parcels at their fair market commercial residential value. So they were valued for, I forget the exact values, but $120,000, $150,000. The referee's recommendation mostly righted that mistake. Unfortunately, the referee's recommendation was still very inflated. So we're talking about a 500 plus increase across the 3 parcels. So we're going up from a parcel that was valued in 2024 at $100 to being now valued at $800, for example. Another going from $400 to over $2,000. And one of these lots has also been valued or recommended to be valued at over $5,000. Again, these are all completely undevelopable. There are drainage. There's drainage on these lots. There are detention areas. There's like a craggy creek that runs through one of them. They're not going to be able to be valued at that amount, even at the referee's recommendation, given just the encumbrances to the parcels. So we are requesting that the board reduce the value back to the 2024 assessment for each of these parcels, which is par for what you find in other neighborhoods in the area. Specifically, I do want to point to there are several lots in a neighborhood just west of Hanover Falls that feature similar lots under similar development restrictions whose values have not changed from 2024 to 2025 and are still valued at nominal values of $100, for example. I don't have those exact parcel numbers on me, but they exist, and it is just down the street from Hanover Falls. So again, because nothing has changed since 2024, we urge the board to return the values of these parcels to the 2024 assessments. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go into conversation on that. Any comments or questions from the board? Commissioner Morgan?
So you can't build on these lots,
No.
ever?
According to the development agreement, that is part of the restriction, is that you cannot develop those lots upon the completion of the development.
And the owner of them, I assume, keeps them mowed and takes care of them.
Sure, yes.
So I'd ask a question. Has the owner thought about trying to donate them to the city, county? I mean,
I don't know, but they did enter into this agreement with the city of Omaha for this development. So that much I know.
well, I do want to hear what the referees say about that one.
Sure.
Just because I want to learn and be able to make a good estimate of what you're requesting. So with that, thank you.
Thank you. Before I go down the queue, let's get a quick point of information from the referee on this property, or the three properties.
Let me jot down one of these parcel numbers real quick so I can search it on the computer there.
Good morning. Rick Coder, 5621 North 140 First Circle. I'm the coordinator for the BOE, mostly residential work. The lots in question, as I recall, are part of the HOA. There's a million of them in town.
These bottom three, if you want to click on any one of them.
And if my recollection is right, as part of the HOA, you can't give it away to the city. That's part of the HOA's operation. I guess basically, we went to a token value on those. We went from, $74,000 to $5,000. I don't think the number is greatly relevant on it, but we understand the lack of value in that. We just cut it down to what we felt was a token amount.
Questions? We'll go to Commissioner Friend and then Rogers.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, Mr. Coder, a token amount is related directly to the actual value, which would also translate to the market value. I'm having a little trouble getting my hands wrapped around this. I'll tell you why. I live in an HOA, and I can go down. I can walk 3 blocks to an area that has a storm runoff, and the land is actually totally undevelopable. So what you're saying is most of those HOAs are paying a token amount. That token amount reflects what? The market value of that drainage property?
It's just, Commissioner, you've got to hang a number on that as far as some kind of evaluation for tax purposes. You can't put them at zero. We've had years where we've done a lot of these. I didn't see a whole ton of them this year, but we reduced them down, acknowledging they're not worth much, they're there. They contribute to the overall value of the people living there, who are basically paying most of the tax on that as far as part of what they're paying for their property. But we say they're not worth very darn much. They're not very much taxable on it. So we're just going to throw a token number at them.
Fair enough, Mr. Coder, but the token value last year was different, correct?
Whatever they were 100 last year. That we weren't. I did not set those last year, sir. And they had a lot of those. They had a number of those at $100, and that is what somewhere in the assessor's office decided 100 was a token value. We felt 5,000 was a token value.
And do you think it's fair? Hopefully, final question, I guess. Do you think it's fair to assume that when you go through all of this, that there was a consistency in dealing with those token amounts for the HOAs?
We make every effort to do that.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. We'll go to Commissioner Rogers.
I think you answered my question, because my question is, I mean, what's missing? Because they're saying that their piece is the only piece that got touched. That's what I'm hearing.
I'm so sorry, Commissioner.
I'm hearing them say that their piece of land is the only one that's what I'm interpreting it as, because they're saying the other land around there that was the same thing down the street was the same, and I'm trying to figure out what's missing.
Well, the outlots are the ones that they put in, developers do. They put some trees there, the signage or whatever it is, and you really can't build on them, and they're really not valuable at all. You can't sell them, but there's need a tax number on those.
So something did happen on the land?
I'm sorry?
You saying something did happen on the land from last year?
No, you can't do anything particularly on the land. But it's just a matter of you have to have some tax value established on that little piece of ground. In my mind, 5,000 within the scope of what they pay for these lands is pretty token.
And I don't disagree. I'm just trying to figure out, well, no, never mind. Okay, thanks.
Thank you. And did you have something?
Dan Esch, Douglas County Clerk. If this would help, this is just the total for all three parcels. So the original 2025 value, if you added all three parcels up, it was $417,000. The referees knocked all three down to a total of $8,200. But the protester is asking it to be returned to the 2024 value, which would have been in total $1,300. So $1,300, basically for all three parcels, $1,300 in total value is what the protester is asking for. The referees have recommended a total of $8,200, but that's down from $417,000 to start off the year.
What was the referee's amount? They recommended $1,800?
$8,200. And the protester is asking for $1,300 for all three total.
1,300.
Correct. And right now the referees have it at 8,200. But just to reiterate, to start off the year was at $417,000 total. So.
Other questions or comments on this matter?
I'd make a motion that, they're not buildable. And is it the developer that owns those lots of the subdivision?
I'm sorry, did you say who
The
is
owner of the lots is the developer?
I believe so, yes.
I'd probably make a motion that you take them down to $2,000 a lot, $6,000. Not buildable, and that would be a compromise. But
Can you clarify that one more time, the numbers, Commissioner Morgan, in your motion?
$2,000 per lot. There's 3 lots.
Okay.
$6,000
Okay.
total.
Because one of them is 500, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, they're valued differently, so I would, urge the board to recognize that
was
one of the lots
500.
in particular is,
Yeah.
has a lower value than
So
2,000.
one is 5,000, one is 2,700, and one is 500. And those are the referee recommendations, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
Do you want want
I'm not
to-
sure why maybe the referee could tell us why the difference of 1,500 and 1,500. I don't know if
Is that
I mean,
just
they're
on
all
the size?
unbuildable.
They're all unbuildable. I won't speak for him.
Rick Coder, 5621 North 141st. The differential basically is the size and the location within the parcel. One's on the street, one's not. Again, it's just all incidental stuff, and there's not much there.
Okay, thank you. Sorry to have you.
Do you have a motion, or should I move on, Commissioner Morgan?
I guess I'll yield to someone else to maybe look at it.
Okay, Commissioner Friend?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Okay, so I think the issue that I have with this, and my gut, everything in my being tells me that this is somewhat subjective, and we can just pick a number and make a deal on this and get it done. Especially, well, let me step back. And you're welcome to opine when I get done here. If anything I say is coherent, knock yourself out. Here's the issue I have. If I could go through this book, I could find Highland Hills, I could find Bennington Lakes, I can find all kinds of things up in my district. And if what Mr. Coder is saying is that they went through all of those and said, we're going to play consistently with this token amount in these drainage areas. And by the way, again, I just said I could walk 2 blocks and find one of these drainage areas. Is the HOA going to call me from Highland Hills in a week and say, wait a minute, I see what you just did with Hanover Falls Center Association. Why in the heck didn't you do it for me? I am not, to Commissioner Borgens's point, and I'm not saying I agree with everything she said, I'm not prepared to deal with those ramifications. What I am prepared to deal with is what Mr. Coder is saying is, look, this token amount does reflect what we would, he didn't say this, I'm putting words in his mouth, as close as we can get to market value on a bunch of property that's unusable. If we did that, if we tried to stay consistent and did that with everybody, Hanover Falls has representation. What about Highland Hills? What happens? I'm repeating myself. Speak to that. I mean, you're an attorney. I want to know what we're putting ourselves into here by throwing darts at a board.
Yeah. Well, one, I don't think we are throwing darts at a board. We have a token value from the 2024 assessments, and yes.
Go ahead.
And I am just urging that we stick to that token value since nothing has changed.
Fair enough, but, and this isn't moot court, I'm not grilling you.
No, you're fine.
Those token amounts changed.
Mm-hmm.
So again, what if Highland Hills amounts changed? I can't even find it. I don't know where it is. I can go look, but what if it did? What if those token amounts across the board changed, to Mr. Coder's point, and they said, no, this is the way it should be. Last year it was incorrect.
Sure.
I know you're here for them, but
I am here for
that's what
them,
I'm
but I am
struggling.
also here to, this is the law. I mean, we have these lots that are just egregiously valued right now. So I would think that what I am arguing would be helpful to all property owners on this front. Otherwise, next year, those other lots, undevelopable lots in those other neighborhoods could be valued higher than they are currently today.
Okay, well, I would ask, thank you for the information you provided, and I'd love to help here. My thing is, unless this board was willing to go in and take every HOA and say, every HOA in here that actually had an increase in regard to that token amount that revolves around undevelopable land, then I'm not sure that's fair. That's my point here. So I'm not sure what to do with this. I'm glad we heard it. I'm learning every day, but to me, this is a little bit difficult.
Can I make one more
Yeah,
point?
Sure, we got about 5 seconds.
Might be helpful. So I think this all stems from the mistake.
I'll start my round and you can
what'd you
finish what you're
say?
saying.
This all stems from the original mistake in which these parcels were valued at the wrong value for this year. They were brought up to that $100,000, $150,000 value. That hasn't happened across the board, would be my point. So we don't have to worry about these other undevelopable lots because they didn't have that same mistake transpire for them. We are trying to fix the mistake of the original assessment for 2025. And so I would urge the board to just make the, I think, easy, straightforward decision of honoring the 2024 assessment since nothing has changed.
And in the same order that they're listed here, where it says 5,000, 2,700, and 500, what are the values you're referencing that were previously there?
So for the parcel ending in 24, that we are requesting would be $400. The parcel ending in 28, we are requesting that stay at $100. And parcel ending in 26, we are requesting that parcel stay at the $800 from 2024.
Thank you for that clarification. That's it for my round. Commissioner Borgeson?
Thank you. Did you go in front of the referees with this same argument?
When we spoke with the referee, we're really focused on that first mistake, which he agreed with us when we met with him. And we did request that we just went back to the 2024 values. We did not get to the point of discussing, what the right token value would be.
Okay, thank you.
Other comments or questions on this item? Any action? If not, it's going to stay at the recommendations. If none, then we'll proceed to the next property for now. Thank you. I know we have a gentleman in the back corner that had a property he wanted to talk about.
Dan Ash, Douglas County Clerk. Before we get into his time, I just kind of wanted to give some background. So this is Mark Rasmussen that will come up next. Give me a second here. So Mark's at 11769 North 175th Circle. That's page 84. So I talked to Mark on Thursday or Friday last week, and how that started was, so Mark was one of the properties involved last year, unfortunately, in April of 2024 in Bennington that had severe tornado damage. When he started off the 2024 year, his property was valued at $778,000, and through the Form 425 process, it went down to $358,000, which the board approved. But Mark's position since that time is he's gotten larger claims back from State Farm, basically saying that the damage basically is almost as much as the original 2024 building value. So he was hoping to get a further reduction in his property this year. He was originally misled. He was told, hey, you need to file a Form 425 again. He was actually on our Form 425 list today, and he was one of the no changes because at this point it's not the proper avenue because the damage happened in 2024, not in 2025. But when I was talking to him on last week, I said, well, you did get this filed before June 30th. So I'll just have a referee review it as a protest real quick. And the referees ended up not making any changes. They felt it should stay at $358,000. I think it's, $358,000. But Mark just wanted a chance to further explain his position of the damage that's happened to his property. So he's saying, if I can just circle back here, yes, this damage happened in 2024, but he's saying as of January 1, 2025, which is when the 2012 your assessment value is supposed to be as of, there was more damage it had a larger claim that came back that showed there was even more damage to the house than what was originally reported when he filed this Form 425 in July of 2015, of July of 2024. And then, and as of January 1, he basically he's still to this day, he says is not able to live in the house. It's basically just studs and the, walls and roof of the house. So he was, I just want to give that background on what's happened. He did get a reduction last year in 2024 due to the Form 425 process. And now he's protesting this year because he believes as of January 1, 2025, the damage was even more severe than what was originally approved in 2024. So with that, I'll turn it over to Mark.
Thank you.
Before you leave, Dan, was the referee aware of it? Do you know?
Yeah, I mean, he didn't get to, because of when it was brought to my attention, he did not meet with the referee. And Rick Coder was actually not the coordinator who reviewed it. It was our other coordinator, Tom Teft. But I mean, whatever he submitted for the Form 425, I passed along to the referee, and I kind of gave them in my email to them the same background that I just gave you all.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
Yep.
Hi, I'm Mark Rasmussen. Thank you for having me today. We haven't lived in our house since April of last year. We're still living in a villa, and yes, I would like our taxes reduced down to land value only. We haven't lived in it. We haven't been able to enjoy any of it. We don't even know when we're going to live in it yet. I don't know how many of you have State Farm, whatever insurance company you have, it's been a battle the whole way. That's all it's been. From July 15th to December, we didn't do anything because everything went up. I've got adjusters worksheets when whoever came and looked at the house, all you probably did is did a drive-by to snap a picture. You never walked inside. Walking inside, there's nothing in there. Studs, when everything gets delayed and insurance doesn't want to pay for nothing, that's where we're at. I mean, we just finally got insulation in our house last week. We're still waiting on drywall. Inspector has to inspect it. The insulation that hasn't even been done yet. He failed some of it because they missed a couple items. Got it fixed. He's got to come back, snap pictures, and whatever. So, yeah, I'm asking for a reduction down to land value only because we haven't been able to enjoy it. Paying for something that you don't get to use, I don't think it's fair. And you ask me whatever question you want, I don't care.
Thank you, sir. I'll go to Commissioner Friend.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, Mr. Rasmussen, do you remember off the top of your head, what did State Farm have as a replacement value on your home before the tornado?
We were at $661,000 plus 20%.
Okay, they had it insured at $661,000
Right.
with a modified guaranteed replacement of 20% on it.
Correct.
So, when the home was hit, was it deemed? Did they have a CAT team in there? Did they go, okay, it's destroyed?
No, they actually thought.
So
it
you
was
didn't
only-
get you didn't get a check for $661,000.
No, sir. We actually thought we were going to get a move in a lot sooner. They actually had it valued at $239,000. They're going to have it fixed. That wasn't the case. I have adjusters worksheets.
Wait a minute. Sorry, Mr. Rasmussen. It was valued at $239,000.
To fix it.
Oh, okay.
To
All
fix
right.
the property at
Okay.
$239,000. That was May 30th.
So the adjusters and the adjusters came in, worked with your contractors or whatever, and they put a number of $239,000 on it or $236,000 on it, and said this is how much it's going to cost. When they got done, it wasn't complete. You still haven't been able to move in.
They did not. The adjuster did not work with a contractor. He came in, spent 3 days there, did an evaluation of it, $239,000, sent us the form May 30th. Here's your work adjuster's sheet. My Home Pride was my contractor, did all the roofing, soffits, windows, everything. He sent that in. They were like, whoa, wait a minute. we're not replacing all the windows. That was in July. We approved the roof, they replaced the roof, then they said we're not gonna do anything else until we have an engineer come look at it now. Now we want an engineer, which I wanted one in May.
State Farm said that.
Correct. By now I'm on my second adjuster, and so in August of 2024, an engineer came out to look at all the windows and some framing. Also, they didn't want to replace all the electrical. When the electrical gave his estimate, they were like, well, we're not replacing all that. And he goes, well, you have to. They wanted an electrical engineer, so they hired a company called Strike Check. They came out. Well, so now from July 15th to December, we couldn't do anything. They put a stop on the house because by the time you wait for the report from the guy, there's 30 days, a report from State Farm, another 30 days.
Is there any estimated time of completion?
No, not yet.
Okay. Mark, I don't find this enjoyable. I'm a licensed property and casualty, and I do all kinds of stuff. I'm not going to tell you who I'm with. I'm not going to tell you. I can only tell you this is why I'm asking these questions, is because it's my wheelhouse. I know that I just went through with 49 customers last year, the same thing that you're going through. My final question is, was your home insured? You're positive about this. It was insured at replacement cost.
Yes.
Okay. And you're not living in it?
No.
Okay. Mr. Chair, that's all I have.
Thank you. We'll go to Commissioner Morgan.
So the lot value, I think, is 118,000, I think, on the land value of
Yes,
the
sir.
home. And are you asking that there not be any value on the house? Because it's just, right now, as I understand it, Mr. Ish said, just studs and a foundation there, pretty much?
Yes.
It's not
I mean, we got
drywalled or
siding and a
anything.
roof. You can't live in it. It's not livable. The electrical is only on the rough end. You have water, but there's no toilets, no sinks, no tubs, no nothing. I mean, it's like camping if you want to go camp, I guess.
So what's your request? Do you have the
I
lot
would pay the
value?
land value. I don't have a problem with that. But right now, I'm not living in something, you're asking me to pay for something I don't get a chance to live in.
Okay. And the referees I'm not sure. if
I
we
can
wanna-
pull up what they said.
I tend to lean toward what you're saying. There might be a value in the foundation of who knows what. Go ahead, Mr. Colder.
I need to pull it up here and I'll.
Well, I'm just looking at some of the notes in here where the referee came by November 1st and said something about their rehabbing the house. Things changed since November 1st. They didn't even approve some of this stuff. We couldn't do no siding, we couldn't do nothing.
The
So I don't know what he
insurance.
took pictures of.
Okay.
I
So
have no idea.
So the referee, and then this is the referee. Then there's a referee coordinator. The referee says recommend protest be dismissed. Provided photographs as well as assessor's photograph dated November 1st, 2024, show that property was undergoing rehab as of November 1st, 2024. Assessor has placed a partial value on the home of $239,900 as of January 1, 2025. Owner did not provide data to dispute the calculation of his partial value, recommend no change in assessed value. And then the coordinator just said, reviewed the owner's protest packet and the referee's recommended value. I agree with the referee's analysis and value. Part of what Mark submitted, and it wasn't a full report, but it was dated January 3rd of 2025, and it was basically kind of like a summary of the claim from State Farm, and it had it at I just had it up here, $621,995.56. So I don't mean to. Well, I guess I am. I don't mean to do this, but my understanding last year, there are other factors, but I think and obviously Mike and his team can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think if someone submitted something that said I had $300,000 worth of damage, the assessor's office was basically, what their recommendation was basically whatever the value was at the beginning of the year minus $300,000 in many cases, maybe not all of them. So he would have had a property value of to start off 2024 of a building value of $659,900. So, I think, and I'm not an assessor, but I was talking to Mark. I go, well, I don't think anyone's going to give you $0 on the property if there's a structure there, but they might knock it down to $35,000 or $40,000 if they just do the math of $659,000 minus $621,000.
Right.
So that's kind of what I was,
Yeah.
when we were talking on the phone, that's what I told him I thought maybe would be a reasonable request on his part. But obviously, maybe I've taken a lot of liberties because I'm not, the assessor's office or the referees who reviewed. So.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Other questions or comments on this
I think
property?
Mr. Kohler was going to say something.
Okay, sure.
Rick Coder, 5621 North 141st Circle. I said, I did not review this firsthand. This case, there's all kinds of numbers flying around. The insurance paid this, didn't pay that, somebody added this. This gentleman needs to go up, sit down with the assessor's office staff and figure something out. What he is asking for is just simply beyond the scope of what the BOE is set up for. Not our pay grade, I guess, is this term they use.
Okay. And
I'm not sure if there's time that the assessor, I think you have, do you have a few days, Mr. Goodwillie, where the assessor can make a change?
I'm good. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. Mike Goodwillie, Douglas County Assessor's Office. The time for us to unilaterally change a value expires on the 19th of March. 19th of March, right. The next avenue is protest to the BOE. The next avenue is an appeal to the Tax Equalization and Review Commission. And I hate to put this gentleman through some any more hoops than we have to. What I would say is I think the reason we had the value on it we had is we do have some pictures, and it confirms. I'm sorry, I'm terrible with names. Mr. Rasmussen, I'm sorry. It does confirm there's studding inside. There's some rough-in electrical that we can see. It's obviously not ready for, habitation for sure. If this were new construction and we looked at it and saw how far the inside was done, we'd assign it a partial value. And so my suggestion would be if you want to leave the status quo, if Mr. Rasmussen wants to file a protest with Turk, he can come visit us and we can figure out what that ought to look like. But that would force him to do a little bit more red tape, and I can see why he's reluctant to do that at this juncture.
Thank you. Could I use my time?
sure, go ahead.
My thought is, and I've never met you or talked to you to my knowledge, is that accurate?
Correct.
Okay. But you're paying something to live somewhere else, I'm sure, for the last year.
Year and a few months.
Yes. So my thought is we got a lot value of $118,000. My thought is we put the value of the foundation, the studs, some of the rough in at $52,000, making it a $170,000 total value. We know the situation, and I'm appreciative of Dan Ish, so I'd make that as a motion. So he doesn't have to go through filing with Turk, which I would want to say Turk takes, unfortunately, 2 years or more to go through that process. And I've heard people tell me even 3 years. So that's where I am.
Second.
Can you repeat the figure, the amount? Commissioner Morgan, what was the amount you suggested?
I suggested the lot value at the 118,000,
Mhm.
and then the 52,000 for the structure that is partially there.
52,000. Okay.
So a total of 170 is a value.
Okay. There's been a motion and second by Commissioner Friend. Commissioner Kavanaugh, you have a comment on that motion?
Sure. So my understanding, Mr. Rasmussen, is you got hit by a tornado?
Yes, sir.
And I went through a lot of these properties. Was it a new home when you got hit?
No, we bought it used in '04. Well, we bought it in 2018, but it was in '04.
A lot of them were like taken down to the foundation. Was yours one of those?
No, but the back half got ripped off.
Okay. And so that was how long ago?
April 26, 2024.
Okay. So you've been out of your home rebuilding since then, kind of, right?
Yeah.
Okay. To get back to 100%, what percentage would you say you are at now?
What percentage? I'm going to say I'm at 0 because it's disappointing that your insurance treats you the way you are when you
No,
pay
no, no,
for it.
believe me,
Well,
I'm with you there. I'm just saying, you know, construction projects are 0% complete, 50% complete, 75% complete. Where are you with this construction project?
if you're asking me based on a value so that you can put a dollar amount it on,
No, I'm
gonna-
asking you based on the
I
construction.
understand that.
Yeah.
Probably 75%, maybe 80.
Right, right, right.
But we don't know. I mean, everything's got to be inspected. Everything's
Sure, no, I totally get it, I totally get it. I'm just trying to get to, how do we get to 52,000? It seems to me, and Mr. Clerk, maybe you can clarify this, that he would have been eligible for this damaged property option that a lot of the other tornado victims got. Is that right?
Danish County Clerk, well, he did get it in 2024. There was a reduction in 2024, but he couldn't use that avenue again because there was no new damage in 2025. So that really, to me, the better question is, as of January 1st, how far along do you think your construction was along? Because he got this claim from State Farms on January 3rd of 2025 saying his damage was a little over $620,000 to his home.
Okay.
But so at that point in time, you might be 75, 80% along now. But I don't know how far along. To me, it sounded like you weren't when we were talking anyway. Didn't sound like you were very far along as of January 1.
Right. And, we're just trying to be fair here, so to get you to something that's, maybe closer to reality than what we're at right now, that's the number. The number would be, what do we give for the partially complete building? And if I understand, Commissioner Morgan's recommending $52,000.
Yes.
Okay. The building complete is going to be something much more than that.
Correct.
Right.
Once it's finished.
So, how do we get to 52,000? I mean, I'm just trying to clarify this in my mind.
It's just an estimate, basically, of what it'd be valued at if somebody, you still have plenty of work left to finish, and you don't even know how much work
correct.
totally yet. You don't have the plumbing or anything or drywall. So I'm trying to take, maybe it's 20-some% or thereabouts.
So that would get the whole thing to 170,000, is that right? Am I doing my math correct? Yeah.
Correct.
Okay. And this is an imperfect process, but we're trying to be as fair as we can. You got a partially completed tornado damaged house that you can't live in. And hopefully by this time next year, that's going to be taken care of. In the meantime, you've got a valuation here that says, well, your house is completed, and we know that's not the case. So to kind of do some equitable result here, the 170,000 would be kind of that. And I guess, it's reasonable, it's in the ballpark.
All right, that's time. It's good, Willie. Did you have something?
Well, let me clarify what sounded like a misimpression from out in the gallery, and maybe Commissioner Kavanaugh, you didn't mean it that way. But the value on Mr. Rasmussen's property is the $358,000 that we set it at last year post damage process. It didn't spring back up to full value. And what you just said made it almost sound like that was the case, and that's not right.
No.
So what we've got on it is the same partial value we had on it post-damage last year.
Right. But I'm looking at this, and it says recommended building value, $239,900.
Yeah, it's like 40% complete is what we've got on it.
Okay. Mr. Gibb really got his clarification in. I need to go down the queue here. I think Commissioner Friend had a light.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. The reason that, and Mr. Coder alluded to this, and I apologize, I was probably the instigator. The reason there are a lot of numbers flying around is because those numbers are relevant. They're extremely relevant. A replacement cost on a home is extremely relevant to the market value of the home. If an insurance company sets the replacement cost and the house gets destroyed and the person can't live in it, destroyed to the point the person can't live in it, that's not going to affect market value? It actually is. It's very important to understand what State Farm has already done, what the insurance company has already done, and what type of situation he's in right now. If he walked away, if he was infinitely wealthy, and he walked away from this property, who's going to buy it at $358,000? Not a single person in Douglas County, and I doubt anybody around the country would do that. So the market value is directly related to some of those stupid numbers we were throwing around in regard to what State Farm's actually said to this point. I can tell you, I've lived it. If he were infinitely wealthy, he walked away right now, he would not get $358,000 for this property. As far as I'm concerned, it was incorrect, $358,000. As far as I'm concerned, last year's was incorrect. Mm-hmm. This was hit by a tornado. It's incorrect. It's uninhabitable, which means that if there's a replacement cost placed on that home, then State Farm is responsible to, any insurance company is responsible to replace that and then get it to the point where he's got the market value again. He does not have the market value. I believe, I don't know that the 52,000 is the right number, but I can tell you that if he asked for 108, or anybody were to walk up after their home got blasted by a tornado, I would say 118 sounds pretty good to me. You can't even live in the thing. Once the insurance company establishes that this money is going to transfer hands, all the building is done, you've got a market value that you can actually wrap your hands around. Right now, there is no market value. Hardly any. I made a second. I believe that 170 is fair. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Anybody else on the motion? If not, the motion again is to leave the land value at 118,100, and then, okay, 1 second, sir, and then take the building value to 52,000. Correct? Okay.
May I get the property value tax back that I had to pay last year?
And that's not what we're considering at the moment, sir.
Okay.
So that's the motion to amend the protest as such for this property. So we'll vote on that.
Motion passes. Commissioner Rogers is absent. Commissioner Borgeson voting no. All other commissioners voting yes.
All right, thank you. Sir, thank you for being here.
Thanks.
One thing. Legally, we couldn't change last year.
I think they didn't do it right last year.
Yeah, I just want you
my
to know
only
this
opinion.
board cannot do that.
I
legally.
get it.
I'm sorry.
Thank you, thank you. Anybody?
you.
Yes. Anybody else? Other properties, sir?
Good morning.
Morning.
My name is Chad Adams, as my address is 312 South 16th Street. I have 30 parcel protests I'd like to talk to you today about equalization, and more so the lack of equalization, on part of the Douglas County Assessor's Office and the Board of Equalization referees. Nebraska state law, revised statute 77112, requires property to be valued at market value for tax purposes, with case law that goes on to state the best indicator of market value is what something sells for. So why does the Douglas County Assessor's Office fight that indicator so much, and the Board of Equalization referees dismiss that information only when it comes to commercial real estate valuation? Both of these actions shift tax burden to the residential property owners. The examples of this all are on the protest forums and up for vote before you today. I'd love to talk about all 30 of them, but I'll just bring a couple forward. West Omaha commercial land is valued at $15,000 per acre. You cross the street to the residential side, valuations are $246,000 per acre. You go to the other direction, the residential side, they're $90,000 an acre. Dismissed. A commercial property bought for $750,000 in 2023 and then sold again for $1.1 million in 2024. On their very own real estate transfer statement, it has the market value on it by the owners at $1.1 million, yet the assessor's office says, nope, wait, the market value is only $150,000 for tax purposes. And the Board of Equalization referees say, we agree. Based on what information? A commercial apartment that's sold for double its tax valuation in 2020, and the valuation didn't change for 4 years. I would challenge anyone to show me a piece of residential property valuation that is below its 2020 sales price. Or a commercial site that sold in 2022 for $4.75 million, yet the assessor's office currently valuation is only at $1.46 or $1.6 million. Residential properties are valued disproportionately, and the evidence to support that is provided directly by the assessor's office. Here's a copy of the commercial sales report provided by the assessor's office. The highlighted lines are all out of compliance with state law. They are valued at 85% or less of a recent sales price. That's 66% of the recent sales of that one particular category that is not property valued. This is just the properties that are sold. How many unsold properties aren't valued correctly? Let's compare this to Miss Rockwell's property. I don't know her other than the fact that she filed a protest with you guys on her tax valuation this year. Here's the supporting documentation from the assessor's office provided. See the difference? Only 5% are out of compliance. The other fact is that the valuations of the residential side are already 118% of the sales price. Going back to the commercial valuations, they're only at 48% of the sales price. Did I just happen to find the one example? Unfortunately, no. Under a different commercial protest that you have in front of you and denied by your referees, this one is 33% out of compliance with state law and 71% valuation on sales prices up to 4 years ago. Yet, here's a protest, again, Mr. Brocker, I don't know him from anything. Another protester on the residential side, 0% are out of compliance, and in fact, all supporting residential sales are already 19% above their average sale price. The worst part, this doesn't even address other commercial properties that haven't sold. I'm just asking where the equalization from this board on their part of the broken property tax system is. Thank you for your time and your service.
Thank you. Yes, go ahead.
Sir.
Sure.
Could you leave that information or copy of it with the clerk so we could look at it?
Sure. What you need? Anything in particular that you want?
I'm
I've
sorry?
got anything in particular that you want? I've got all the addresses.
The ones that you held up particularly, but all of it if you could. This is very interesting disparity that you point out, and I just want to take a closer look at it.
Sure. Well, I mean, I appreciate you guys have had the whole conversation of market value like all day, and market value is what something buys and sells for, right?
Right.
And you know, I find it very interesting even on some of the real estate tax transfer statements. It asks, what's the market value of this property, right? And it happened within the last year or two, and
sure,
the assessor's office and your own referees are like, that's not information we're taking into account.
I think we can all agree it's not a perfect
100%.
And so, when we get information like this, my impression is, okay, well, I'm going to take it and talk to some of the folks who do this and see if there are adjustments we can make to make it better. But I want to thank you, as a private citizen, to coming forward and helping us with this.
Right.
It's
Yeah,
appreciated.
I'm not a professional or anything. I just, a lot of things that we've noticed, and I do my little small part or whatever, but I would, I guess, hate to see what would happen if somebody would really pull back the covers on some of this stuff. Because interesting enough, I don't know how it happened, but one of the commercial properties were actually allowed to give some information after the close of the referee period in late July, and they stated that law requires different categories to be equalized.
Right.
You know, and their argument of why they're using other commercial values that are super low, not current sales, but as you guys were talking about in the Benson neighborhood, they're using the low valuation of another property that's probably incorrect to justify why they're, even though they bought it for $5 million, why they should only be valued at 1.6, because that's what my neighbors are valued at. So it's like there's a lot of, I don't know.
That's a great observation. I just want to tell you, you remind me of, on the Capitol building in Lincoln, one of the things that's inscribed there is the salvation of the state is based on the watchfulness of its citizens.
Sure.
And you're a perfect example of that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go to Commissioner Borgerson.
Sir, I'm sorry, I had to step out.
I was
for-
talking on everybody's time. So
No,
didn't-
I didn't catch your name. And
Chad Adams.
Adams, thank you for being here.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go Commissioner Morgan.
Chad, you're going to leave that information?
I can. It's got my scribbles
and
all
we
over it, but
And if you take it to our office, they'll
Yeah.
make copies of it.
I can
Because
send a
I'd
copy
like
to
have
Dan
the
and
assessor,
he can forward it on.
And I'll just say, the assessor has a very, very difficult job. and his
100%.
people.
Yeah.
But I can tell you this, that if somebody buys a home for $600,000 or a commercial property for $600,000, hey, that's what it should be valued at, period, as far as I'm concerned.
Right.
And if anyone were to come here and tell us, say, I bought it for $1 million 12 months ago or 6 months ago, whatever, we're not going to change it. I'm not,
Right.
anyway. The other commissioners can do as they
But
wish.
to
but
me,
we're
my- you know.
we're going to put it at what they paid for it, pretty close to it, and that's, in my opinion, and I stand to be corrected by Mr. Goodwillie or Ron Martar or anyone in his office. I think that's what they try to do to the best of their ability and their people's. So,
Yeah, no,
We'll
I
look
was just
forward
going
to
to quickly
seeing
say
those
to
sheets.
Ms. Borgenson's comment earlier, though, how she votes no on everything because you kind of delegate that to your referees. Even your referees are disregarding the information you just said, where I pointed out something sold 2022, 2023, 2024 for a price, and your 30% tax valuation of a sales price, and your referees go,
with respect to the referees, I still feel we have that responsibility. And I've talked to the assessor, Walt Peffer, about this some time ago in the last 2 years. And unfortunately, he's not with
Sure.
us now. About the county doing it the way we used to do it when Jim Kavanaugh's father was on and I was on for one term in the 70s, not seeking re-election to it. We would sit there 3 days a week and go through every one of them with the assessor beside us, and I loved that system. And I think that was a great system that we did. And that's why I won't vote no or yes
Sure.
for whatever citizen comes down. I use comparables or try to understand what they're requesting.
Right.
But thanks for leaving those, in our
Yep.
people over there will make copies so that we have some of that information.
All right, thank
And
you.
I thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Borgerson.
I just wanted to comment that it is a broken system.
Yeah.
And I've said that, and I've actually said it was even before most recent us as a board sitting as the Board of Equalization for many, many, many years. And I would love to hear at some point, maybe we can have coffee on what you think our solutions could be, because
Sure.
we are constantly trying to go to the legislature to change this, because it's a broken system.
Right.
It's not the fault of the assessor, it's not the fault of the referees, it's not the fault of this board, it's the fault of what we have before us and how we're supposed to do it. And again, my biggest beef on all of this is that Board of Equalization, we give every citizen the right to come before Board of Equalization, or the protest, file
Sure.
a protest. They get the notice of it, they know when the time is, they can go online. Same is not done when it gets to this board.
Sure.
And we are doing, in my opinion, it is unfair, as you pointed out, unfair to many who have not had the opportunity to come before us.
Sure.
So, yeah, if we want to go back to the way we did it, you know, we'll sit here. I can remember 12-hour days, 8 to 8, and then, and people were hot because we didn't get them in on their, you know,
Sure.
15-minute time. But it was a good system because we actually were in front of the taxpayers and we heard what they had to say. We had the assessor sitting next to us, the appraiser, whoever. And it worked, but it didn't work because there were so many, we
Right.
couldn't get it done in the timeline. So at some point, I would love to pick your brain,
Sure.
you know, again, over a cup of coffee or whatever, to find solutions to this broken system that we constantly try to fix on the back end rather than on the front end.
Sure.
So
I
again,
appreciate your
thank
time.
you for
Thank
being
you.
here.
Thank you. Was there anybody else that had other properties to discuss?
Hi, my name is David Cole, and I own the Cole's Pharmacies, and I'm here to protest. I'm a pharmacist, and I'm here to protest the valuation of my property at 12701 Q Street. The value, and I'm glad I have the opportunity to do this about to avoid the negative impact to my business, so I will take advantage of that. It was approximately a little less than a 50% increase, almost $1 million. And when I look, my property is valued at $120 per square foot, which includes a warehouse hidden in the back of the property, and my neighbor, and I'm sunken down into the, off of Q Street, I'm sunken down off the property. And when my neighbor, who's catty corner, property that's fully filled up, they're $80 a square foot. And then the property to the west, that's fully filled and it's right on Q Street, that's not sunken down, it's $110 a square foot. And then when we compare it even to something that's right on Dodge Street, a fully filled up 114th and Dodge on the west side, the entire shopping center, it's $108 a square foot. So to me, it seemed like it was pretty simple math. So I was thinking that a fair value for me would be something like $90 a square foot, which would still, from my increase from approximately 2.2 million to approximately 3.2 million, would be 2,556,000, which I thought would be a fair amount, but I didn't have any decrease, and so I need to do what I can to not negatively impact my corporation, and that's why I'm here today.
Thank you,
Commissioners, this is on page 53. It's
I do have the pictures.
2K LLC on page 53.
Kim, can they be put up on the board, maybe?
Mr. Clerk, can you repeat it one more time?
Yeah, it's page 53, like Roman numeral 2, and then K LLC.
Okay, sure.
It's 12701 Q Street.
It's yeah, it's the $80 a square foot property. That's catty corner right on the property. That's the $80. There's 110, and there's the.
Are these all single copies?
Yeah, but you can have this for.
Okay, well, I'll wait till you're
In
done.
a second, yeah.
Yeah. That's all I have though. There you go. That's the $80 square foot property. That's catty corner right on Q Street, not sunken down. Next one.
Sure.
This is the one that's right on Q Street to the west of me. It's fully occupied. It's right on Q. No warehouse or anything involved with it. And then this is the Miracle Hills Plaza on the west side, Dodge Street, prime property at $108 a square foot, all filled up.
I don't mean to correct you, Mr. Cole, but that's the east side of the street.
That's the east
where
side,
the old
yes.
Clancy's, because the west side is totally vacant.
Right.
They
correct.
just rehabbed that in the last 2 or 3 years, and it's pretty vacant. And that one's 108. And yours is what again? What?
Mine's at 120, and it includes a 6,000 square foot warehouse that's hidden in the back.
Okay. Before I go down the queue, let's get the full context from the referee. And Mr. Clerk, did you have something?
No, but I'll
Okay,
pull
just
up
help him with the images. Okay.
Sorry. Yeah.
What's the number you're requesting exactly?
$90, 2,556,000.
How much would it be?
2,556,000.
What are we at, Dan, right now? 3 million?
Yeah, it's $3,284,900. So I can let Chris speak to it. Musto. But these are the referee comments that I have pulled up.
Yes, Chris Musto, Commercial Coordinator. Let's get back to the referee. Okay, I can give you the referee comments on this one. We're met with property owner and owner's rep, DC Commissioner P.J. Morgan. At time of scheduled hearing, evidence for equalization with larger shopping centers was provided, but comparison is non-valid as buildings provided for comparison purposes are non-similar to the protested property. Property owner is owner-occupied and no rental information is available to dispute assessor's income model or valuation model. A review of assessor's income valuation model concludes that reasonable rent, vacancy, expenses, and capitalization rates are inputs were utilized. Overall, insufficient evidence is concluded to have been provided to support the request change in value. So they dismissed it on that basis.
All right. Thank you. Let's get into some conversation here. Commissioner Morgan.
Okay, I had asked if I could say something before, but I wanted to wait my turn to be sure that Mr. Cole called me and asked me if I'd help him. That's why I went with him, just so the record's clear. And David, please correct anything I say. The fact is, now we're hearing that the rental income, we don't know what the rental income is. And if you go back to the first case, rental income, we're talking about the market value and equalization earlier on Benson property. I don't know what he pays rent, and I've never asked him what he pays rent to himself. But when you've got a building right across the street from his on Q that sits above his, he sits down below it, and it's at $80 a foot,
Yes.
that strip center, and I don't know who owns it. And you're at $120 or whatever you're requesting a square foot, or, I mean, your value's 120, or you take the center right by Miracle Hills on the east side that's fully occupied, and that one's at how much, David?
108.
108. And again, he's at more money in a poorer location, in my opinion, 123rd and Q, and I did go out there to look at both the property across the street and his property, and I know the one on 114th where Clancy's was, and now it's DJ's or whatever, and some other buildings. It just seems like there's an inconsistency because we talked about equalization and other properties and what they'd be worth. And I really feel that his property should be somewhere, when you said $90 a foot for yours, the one across the street, the picture of it seems to be a good center with parking right in front off Q. And I stand to be corrected by the referee about that.
Well, I just want to be clear that we're talking two different things here. The assessor's information is provided, including their estimate for what rent would be if it were available for rent, which would be market, not something less than or more than market. And so their valuation goes through based upon that, which they're generating what they've estimated a market value. And we could look at what they have selected from the market to generate rents, expenses, vacancy and collections, overall capitalization rates. Now, on the basis of the submitted information is on an equalization, which is not based upon sales, which the assessor has provided in their packet, sales, and they've gone through and looked at properties that had some like and similarities to create and support where their value came in on the income side. I don't disagree with you that on an equalization argument, you may be able to look at this and find a different number.
But equalization, you don't know what the people across the street are paying on rent, and we don't know what they're paying on rent on 114th and Dodge on the east side.
No, equalization is based upon the assessed value of the property. And that would be, it wouldn't matter what, owner-occupied properties don't pay rent. I mean, they can pay rent to themselves. That would be something they work out between them and their accountant and the IRS, I would assume. But the equalization is based on the assessment. But you would be looking for properties that have similar. We keep talking about this one has a retail component as well as an industrial warehouse component. So you would look at properties that have the same components, which, quite granted, may be difficult to find.
But the component on 114th is exactly the same kind of component as what he has in his center, and the one on 80 across the street that's $80 is retail.
Well, he said it's retail and warehouse.
No warehouse across the street.
Right. And if we were looking at two properties the same, we would look at something that had a portion that was in retail and a portion that was warehouse to be like properties. This is a complex property. There's no doubt about it.
All right, that's time. We have to go to Commissioner Kavanaugh.
Thank you. And I understand your argument here relative to the information that was not provided by Mr. Cole. And I guess, PJ, did you represent Mr. Cole at the?
I just volunteered to help. I won't accept.
But I mean, you were with him at the referee's hearing?
Yes.
Okay. It makes it a little difficult if the referee doesn't have the information. The duty is upon, in my opinion, the property owner to provide the information, because we're asking the referee to overturn a previously established value by the assessor's office. We rely on the assessor's office to do a good job. We rely on the referees, in a sense, to check their homework. And in this opinion, it seems like both of those things are done. It's not their job to go out and get the information that's indicated was not provided here. And I understand the back and forth on these arguments regarding rentals and stuff, but is it my impression that what you say in here was not provided to the referee? Is that correct?
No, I believe the comparables that the property owner provided, several, what would they be, assessor sheets or sheets that were printed off that were providing as equalization comparables.
But, I mean, these are not the rental comparables that we're hearing about.
Well, nobody's gotten to talk about, I mean, you're going through another approach. Again, we've got the valuation on the cost, the sales, and the income,
Right.
and that's all those pieces, and that's valuation.
Right.
On equalization, we're just looking at what our neighbor is assessed at, regardless of what their value of their property may or may not be, and saying, I should be equalized with them.
And that happened here.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I mean, if that's going to be our standard, I think we have to use our standard. And if we're going to depart from that, I guess we depart from it with everybody. I mean, it's a little difficult to do this the way that we're doing it because we don't give the attention to each and every property that maybe we should. What Commissioner Morgan was mentioning about, we used to do it where the commissioners, our job was to sit with the owner and help in the determination of that. That's not happening anymore, and occasionally a commissioner will step in and sit with the owner, but that's a very, very rare thing. And barring going back to that, I'm a little loath to say, okay, we're going to change stuff. Maybe it would be perceived because a commissioner was there, and I'm sensitive to that, but I don't want to have that be a here and there precedent. We either do them all with commissioners or maybe do none of them with commissioners. And I'm in favor of doing them all, but that would take us to a different level of time, and I'm more than willing to commit to the time to do it all. We have 4,000 and some here. We could divide them up among commissioners sitting with referees, but unless we do that, I'm not comfortable with the referee, being faced with an occasional commissioner coming in. It's just, I think if we sit with the landowner at the referee process and then we sit here judging that referee's decision, I'm uneasy with that process. I don't want it to be perceived as kind of a conflict, and it could be. So I guess I'd stick with the referee on this one.
Thank you. We'll go to Commissioner Friend.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Gentlemen, can you tell me again, last year, the assessed building value and the land value together was what amount? Can you tell me that again?
2,250,000 approximately. 2,250,000 approximately.
2 million what?
Or 2,300,000.
It should be on that sheet.
We don't have, I think Dan may be looking up the prior year.
Went from about 2.3 to 3.2.
And I guess this might be overly simplistic, but is there any indication about what the business and the approach that's being taken there didn't change much? Is there any indication based on the findings that we have and the increase that occurred, what changed over that year? I mean, if we're talking over $1 million, look, and here's the thing, I don't disagree with what people have been saying, that it's really, really difficult for us to get our hands wrapped around this. But again, if you oversimplify it, what changed in 1 year from an assessment standpoint to justify an increase of that amount?
Well, Commissioner, I'm not going to read into the assessor information, but we would have to look back and see when was the last time the assessor appraised this. I mean, I've seen sometimes when a property hasn't changed for 10 years or 5 years or 3 years. So I'm not going to tell you that the whole change from 2 million X to 3 million X happened in 1 year. I have to defer to reviewing the assessor information in that case.
Okay. Mr. Chair, that's all I had.
Thank you, Commissioner Friend. I did have Commissioner Morgan in the queue. You're up. Commissioner Morgan, you're up in case you still want your turn. If not, any other comments or questions on this matter?
Well, the other building I was comparing it to is also owner occupied, and that I was comparing it to. And then the fact that it was a warehouse, well, it's harder to find a comparable property, but the warehouse does, since most of the properties are retail, a warehouse decreases the value of the property. So.
Thank you. Let me go to Commissioner Morgan.
Okay, so Dan, you correct me. I think, what I was trying to see is if it was a $900,000 increase.
About 930,000.
930,000 in 1 year, from 2.3 million to 3.2 million approximately. And when you compare it per square foot, and if you drive there, you'll see a strip center that looks to be newer right across street. And we all have seen where Jack and Mary's, the Clancy's was and all that, fully occupied at a lesser amount per square foot. And we talked about not taking income into too much consideration. I don't know what he's paying rent, and I really do not, and I never asked you what you pay yourself rent. I was just doing it as a market value of those buildings. I don't know what they pay rent, but I assume 114th would be a higher rent than 123rd and Q. To me, there should be some compromise on this property of a $500,000 increase from the year before. He hasn't made any new improvements on the property and raised it to 2.7 million or whatever, 2.8 million, and not have a nearly $1 million increase in his property taxes. That was my feeling. And I'd like to see if there might be support to do it. I'd make a motion that it be increased to 2.75 million, which is a compromise and a $500,000 increase.
Motion is to have the total assessment be 2,750,000. Is that correct, Commissioner Morgan?
Yes.
So that means where are we at? The building would stay at what it is, or the land value would stay at what it is, and then you'd reduce it by the difference of the recommendation.
Yes.
Okay. Is there a second? All right, by friend. Mr. Goodwillie, did you have a clarification?
Well, Mike Goodwillie, Douglas County Assessor's Office. I just wanted to provide some valuation history since Mr. Musto raised it. The property was at $2.21 million beginning in 2015 to $2.37 in 2021, and then to $3.28 in 2025. So Mr. Musto's characterization is probably right. This is a reappraisal that had been coming for some time.
All right. There's a motion on table. That was just stated a few seconds ago. So, other comments on that motion? If not, we'll vote on the motion.
Motion fails. Commissioners Friend and Morgan voting yes. Commissioner Garcia abstaining. All other commissioners voting no.
Okay. That is.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I think we have a property over here.
Good morning. Thank you for your time. You should have a little sheet with some yellow highlights on it. I thought that was quicker than me doing a lot of talking. How I got here in 2022, the tax value of our house was increased by 190%.
I'm sorry, sir. Could you state your name for the record,
I'm
please?
sorry. John Wilhelmy, 13611 Cumming Street, Omaha.
Sorry.
I'm retired.
Sorry, John. Just real quick, commissioners. This can be found on page 63 It's pretty close to the top, 13611 Cumming Street.
That's actually highlighted on the last page of your handout.
And
Yeah, page 63.
well, he actually the attachment he handed out, you could see it in there. But if you're going off the big list of recommendations we submitted, it's on page 63.
Since the increase in 2022, the next year, because I missed the protest date. I say we in my writing, and my wife sees that, I'll be in trouble. I missed the date. We've been through Turk, a number of conversations. So this year, I should point out, the county appraisal, after the big increase, the next year, they reduced it back down to $1.3 million without my protest. Did that on their own. So somebody thought it was wrong.
How much would that have been?
Pardon me?
How much would that have been the reduction from one year to the next? How many thousands?
They reduced the value by $600,000.
Automatically?
They just did that. It just appeared. I had nothing to do with it. I wish I had of, but I didn't. The 190%, I mean, I think that's an error. That is crazy. I have no written documentation, but I've told there were 3 of us that had that happen. I have no proof of that. I have a spreadsheet on the back of the comparables, and the average increase was 8.7%, while ours went up 80 to 90%. I've been through Turk, and the notice I got from my representative at the Turk is the county did not want to settle the Turk case. I have no idea, does that mean they disagreed? They just didn't want to settle it? I have no idea what it means. So, but we've been down that road. So this year I filed a protest. I thought I had a novel solution. Asked for $100,000 reduction in this year's valuation and $100,000 for the next 5 years. That would offset the $600,000 jump that I've paid taxes on over the time. And maybe it's a simple solution, I don't know. I think you say the system's broke. There's a line in the property record about 2/3 of the way down in my handout that starts year built 1.9%. In the middle, that becomes 190% and shows a $750,000 increase. And even in an email, they talk about a factor of 1.9%. That needs to be cleaned up. I think junior high math would say 1.9% doesn't equal 190%. There, I'm told there's no notes, because I think this was done by predecessors of predecessors, explaining the 1.9 or the 190. So I'm here hat in hand, asking for a little help in reducing and covering the error. I think tax-wise, it's $12,000. To me, that's real money. So,
Thank you, sir, for being here. Before we start in the conversation, can we get the context from the referee, especially since there's a mention of a potential error?
Get on the computer here. Pull it there.
Rick Coder, Coordinator, Board of Equalization. I'm just reading the notes again. Met with owner, reviewed protest, assessor's notes. Owner's disputing claimed that in 2022, the assessment by the Board of Equalization, and he's trying to, basically he wants to rebate back, felt he overpaid for a couple of years, and wants to somehow use the future valuation of the property to recoup what he overpaid. And that is just really kind of outside the scope of what we can do for him. That makes sense.
Okay. Thank you. We'll start with conversation. Commissioner Kavanaugh.
Thank you. Mr. Coder, this is something that runs through all of these, and I don't know if you have it, I know the assessor does, but the average percentage in residential property sales this year, I think went up 5-6%. Do you know that number? There is a number.
Overall sales, you're talking about, Commissioner,
yeah.
prices?
Yeah.
Well, I don't have that in front of me, no.
Mr. Goodwillie, I think you might have that number.
Overall, probably about 7 or 8%.
7 or 8%. And, you know, it's been plus or minus in that ballpark since the COVID bounce back. Is that about right?
Well, sure, but the thing to understand about averages, and you know this, is that you'll have some neighborhoods that move faster than others.
Right.
So, and if you go several or 3 or even 4 years without a reappraisal, those numbers don't go away.
Would there be, this is Linden Estates, which is a very nice neighborhood. Would there be a way to drill down and separate that percentage of?
Well, we might. I don't have that with me at the
No, I
moment.
understand. But it certainly probably wouldn't be lower than that countywide average. I wouldn't.
I'd be shocked if it were.
Okay. So we're dealing with a nice property in a nice neighborhood, and from what I can see from the assessor's determination, it's 2025 valuation is supported and recommending no change. I guess I'd have a tough time getting around the fact that you're probably sitting on a property that's gone up in value the last 4 or 5 years. I say this because I have a much more modest home, but it's in a nice neighborhood, and it's gone up every single year. I mean, every single year for the last 5 years, I think. We haven't protested, but it's one of those, you live in a nice place, in a nice city, and we're fortunate enough to have appreciating real estate. I think everybody'd agree with that. It's just a matter of how much does it appreciate. And in this case, you make, you know, an interesting point in terms of the appreciation from 2018 to now, which, you know, 2018, 19, 20, and 21 look like flat. And I would say before 2020, we were having the same kind of appreciation countywide that we've had since we bounced back from, you know, the COVID downturn. So if you're flat for a number of years, I think what happens is they eventually get around to you and the valuation goes up. In my case, they get around to me almost every year. That's amazing. And
You're special, Commissioner.
Thank you very much. If it wasn't for the honor, I just as soon let it go by.
I understand.
I don't know if you can appreciate that. I know that it's not comfortable, and this is, as you've noticed, not a perfect process. But I do appreciate the research that you've done on this. It's just that, you know, if you look at it, you had flat valuation for a number of years, and then you had an update. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, it kind of accumulates. So that if you're flat for a number of years and they finally get around to evaluating it, particularly if you're flat in a very nice neighborhood, it can jump up a little bit. I understand you would get
If the market is appreciating, it's like rust. It doesn't really sleep.
I'm sorry?
I said if the market is appreciating, it's a little like rust. It never really sleeps. And in Mr. Wilhelmi's situation, we changed the model for 2022 for some of the things we did in Linden Estates. And there were several others that were in Mr. Wilhelmi's boat. They protested and got reductions. Mr. Wilhelmi missed the protest deadline, okay? After you miss a protest deadline, you're done, unless there's some kind of a clerical error. And this wasn't a clerical error. We made a judgment about some homes in Linden Estates. Events proved that we were too high, and we did what you would expect us to do if we made a mistake. We took it down. But it was an error in the model. It wasn't a clerical error, which is all you're left with after you miss your protest deadline. So what we did was we took stock the next year. We noted what the protest did the year before. We looked at the sales in Linden Estates that were available to us, and we took Mr. Wilhelmi's values down, which is what you would expect. But no, you don't get to go back and relitigate 3 years ago.
Okay, I got to move on. Commissioner Morgan?
And Mr. Goodwill, you could have stayed down if you wanted to correct what I might say. But the interesting thing, Commissioner Kavanaugh, is he didn't protest. The next year, his property value went down and is still down approximately $500,000 from what happened in 1 year. If I'm stating that correctly, because I heard you say you did not protest, all of a sudden you got basically about a 40%, 35% reduction in your value, 600,000 from what it was, and that's been it. Is that accurate? So he didn't protest.
No, he missed the 22 protest deadline is what he missed. That's when the big increase occurred.
But then they did reduce it the next year, so they realized somebody or the machine or the model or whatever did make a mistake, and it'd be like me
It's a
going
judgment,
into a store
Commissioner.
and say you tagged that wrong a year ago when I bought this, and I want to bring it back. Can you give me a discount now on the next one I buy? So he's asking us, if I'm stating it properly, I'm trying to make it simple because I don't have a big brain.
We reduced the value because we decided that our model came out too high. It wasn't because there was a mathematical mistake or a clerical error.
And it stayed down 600,000?
We've left it. I suspect that if it's been a few years, we'll probably look at them going forward.
Anything else, Commissioner Morgan? Yeah. Okay. Let me circle back to Commissioner Kavanaugh.
Thank you. And Mr. Wilhelm, I hope you appreciate that we are impressed by you taking the time and effort to, go into this. It's as much an education for us as anything else. And you make some points. The thing I think that's salient here is that this going down from the 2022 high was a self-correction that you didn't request, but you got it. And now we're kind of at a plateau again, like we were prior to 22 on this particular property, but it hasn't gone significantly up. As a matter of fact, it hasn't reached that 2022 level. I guess one thing that you brought up, and this is, again, part of the education process, is you got a Turk opinion that was ambiguous. Is that what I heard you say?
We had an attorney who took...
If you could speak into the mic.
I'm sorry. We had an attorney who took the case to Turk.
Yes.
My attorney's response to me was, the county did not want to settle the case. And I really don't know what that means.
Okay. Mr. Goodwillie, could you enlighten us on this?
Yeah, I think it went to decision in 23, which left the value at 1.3. So Mr. Wilhelmi must have protested a year subsequent to 22, is that right?
It was after 22.
So
yes.
you probably protested 23 and they just left it alone.
Okay.
No,
so
we
I
were
think Mr.
protesting
Wilhelm.
2022. We were protesting the big number. I would not protest the low number.
No, but
I mean,
they
I thought
would
he
have.
was right.
But they wouldn't have had jurisdiction because you filed no protest with the county board.
Yeah, you have to have a protest to appeal.
Well,
if you didn't protest,
my attorney says he took it to Turk. That's all I can
Well,
tell you.
I suspect it was tax year 23.
Okay. So it was a sustained verdict,
Yes.
basically? They sustained the county's valuation? Yes? Yes. Thank you. Thank you for your time and effort on this, sir.
Thank you.
Anybody else on this matter, on this property? If not, we're going to move to the next property.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else that had a property they wanted to discuss today? If not, we're going to circle back to the main motion as amended. There was just the one property that was related to the tornado that we did amend, but otherwise, Outside of that, we are approving all the other recommendations with this main motion.
And I did, Dan Ash County Clerk, there are 2 additional attachments I just want to draw to your attention that I included in the binder that will be included for approval. Attachment B are properties that they have privacy flags, so we can't have them as a part of the public record. And then attachment C are, since we posted the recommendations yesterday, there were 3 changes the referees wanted to make. So in all 3 cases, they were protests that were put down as dismissed, but they intended to change them. And so attachment C just includes like what they're changing them to. So I just wanted to make sure the motion includes those items as well.
Got it. All right. Circle back to the vote on item G.
Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you. That completes the agenda items for equalization. Can I get a motion for adjournment of equalization? So moved. Motion by Morgan, second by Friend. Please vote.
Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you. We will now open up the Douglas County Board of Commissioners. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Borgeson? Commissioner Kavanaugh? Commissioner Fahey? Commissioner Friend? Commissioner Morgan? Commissioner Rogers is absent. Mr. Chair.
Here. First item of business are items 1A and B. A being the approval of the minutes of the Board of Commissioners meeting and the Board of Commissioners budget meeting held Tuesday, July 29th, 2025. B is the approval of claims submitted for payment process through Tuesday, August 12th, 2025. Do I have a motion and a second? Motion by Friend, second by Morgan for A and B. Please vote.
Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you. Next, we have our consent agenda. Please note that Mr. Mark LaFleur has requested that we pull H and table that for later. So that leaves us with items A through G. Do I have a motion and a second for A through G? Motion by Friend, second by Morgan. Comments or questions on consent agenda? If none, we'll vote.
Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you. Next, we have committees, Section 8. Under Finance, we have Budget Report as presented. Under HR, we have Weekly Personnel Report from Civil Service, also as presented. Before we get into exec session, please note 2 items. One is that we will be on recess next week, so we will not have a meeting on August 12th, so we will be returning on August 19th. Please also note that there is a committee meeting today at 1:30 p.m. for community services. Maybe that's what you wanted to comment on? Okay, so that's at 1:30 p.m. today in room 903. We do have a need for executive session today for labor negotiation, contract negotiation, legal advice, and litigation. Do I have a motion and a second for exec session? Motion by Friend, second by Morgan. We'll vote. Litigation, legal advice, contract negotiation, and labor negotiation.
Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you. The board will now go into executive session for the purposes of labor negotiation, contract negotiation, legal advice, and litigation.
Right. Motion to reconvene and adjourn by Commissioner Borgeson, second by Commissioner Morgan. Motion passes 6-0. The meeting is over at 12:17 p.m.